If you or your partner have an avoidant attachment style, it is going to impact your sex and intimacy. So let's talk about how and what to do to move towards a more secure attachment. Hi, I'm Lauren Consul. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sex therapist, and I'm here to help you have more satisfying and secure sex and relationships. Now let's get into it. How an avoidant attachment style impacts sex. Number one is emotional disconnect. For people with an avoidant attachment style, sex is usually not something that is used as a means of emotional connection. There's actually a focus on decreasing that emotional part of it. And there's more of a focus on pleasure or release. They might focus more on the physical aspects of sex while avoiding emotional vulnerability. So how this might show up is avoiding eye contact during sex, focusing on technique or performance rather than shared intimacy, or struggling to express desires or feelings about sex. So somebody with an avoidant attachment style, sex can feel really good, but the emotional closeness that can come with it can trigger feelings of discomfort or a need to distance themselves. Number two, need for space and control. People with an avoidant attachment style often feel overwhelmed when a partner seeks too much closeness, and this can play out in their sex life as a need for control or maintaining emotional distance. So this might show up as they initiate sex on their terms but withdraw when their partner initiates. Or they might prefer casual, less emotionally involved sexual encounters over deeper connections. They may create physical or emotional boundaries, like focusing on their own pleasure rather than mutual intimacy. This isn't about selfishness. It's a protective mechanism to avoid feeling vulnerable or dependent. Number three, the push-pull dynamic. In relationships, a person with an avoidant attachment style can engage in a push and pull behavior. They may seek intimacy at times, but withdraw when it starts to feel too vulnerable or too close. So in sex, this can look like enjoying physical closeness, but pulling away emotionally afterwards, or avoiding aftercare or cuddling, which can feel too intimate, or being inconsistent with their sexual interest, craving at one moment and avoiding it the next. This back and forth can leave their partners feeling confused or even rejected. Why avoidant attachment impacts intimacy? For people with an avoidant attachment style, intimacy, including sexual intimacy and sometimes especially sexual intimacy, can feel very threatening because vulnerability is often required in this, and vulnerability is usually equated with losing independence or risking rejection, and they want to avoid that. So they might have subconscious beliefs that are something like, if I get too close, I'll lose myself, or depending on someone else will only lead to disappointment, or if I let my guard down, I'll get hurt. Now, these aren't conscious beliefs. These are those subconscious core beliefs that are built and reinforced in childhood. And these are defense mechanisms that protect them from past wounds, but of course can create challenges in their sex and relationships now. So how do you navigate an avoidant attachment style in sex and move towards a more secure attachment? First, you got to recognize the patterns. You need to know what's going on in order to change it. So you want to start noticing, is there distancing? Am I being emotionally present or pulling back during sex? And when you notice these patterns coming up, ask yourself, am I avoiding vulnerability or intimacy? What fears came up for me around emotional closeness? Recognizing these patterns without judgment is key to creating change because you have to know what's happening in order to change it. Number two, practice emotional vulnerability. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, vulnerability can feel like stepping into very scary territory. So start small. You could share a thought or a feeling about sex or even just the relationship with your partner. You can try to maintain a moment of eye contact during intimate moments. You can practice non-sexual touch, like holding hands or cuddling while you are telling yourself affirmations so you can build comfort with closeness. Vulnerability takes time, but small steps really can make a big difference. Number three, focus on mutual pleasure. Avoidant individuals often focus on their own pleasure or performance to avoid deeper emotional connection and visibility. So shifting the focus to mutual pleasure can foster intimacy. So try exploring what feels good for both of you. Engage in activities like sensual massage or guided touch that encourage connection. Communicate openly about what you enjoy and what brings you closer. When sex becomes a shared experience, it can feel less threatening and more fulfilling. Number four, and this is a big one, coach yourself. Create a few mantras that remind yourself why you want to work towards having a more secure attachment. So this might sound like, this is my avoidant attachment system being activated to help give you some distance between it, rather than feeling like this is just who you are. Or you might say, what would somebody with a secure attachment do? And then do that. Or you might say, the more secure the relationship, the more independence I will have. Or showing emotions is brave, not weak. Or whatever else resonates with you. Avoidant attachment does not have to define your sex life or your relationship or you. By recognizing the patterns, practicing vulnerability, focusing on mutual connection, you can create a healthier, more satisfying, intimate life with your partner. Now, if this resonated with you, let me know in the comments below. Are there patterns that you've noticed in yourself or your partner that we talked about today? If you want more content on how to have more satisfying and secure sex and relationships, be sure to follow along.